Dave Krupa had barely opened the repair shop that morning when his phone buzzed with a message that made him stop mid-sentence. Cari wanted to move in together. The night before, she had been stretched out on his couch, calm, focused on her laptop, acting like someone who planned to come back later. Moving in hadn't been discussed. They had been dating only 2 weeks. He told her it was too soon. Her reply flipped instantly, accusing him of lying, warning that he would regret rejecting her. Within minutes, the messages multiplied, sharp and frantic. When he returned home after work, Cari was gone. Everything she had brought with her had vanished, and the silence in the apartment felt wrong. Up to that day in November 2012, nothing about Cari's life suggested she would spin out suddenly. She was 37, a single mother living in Iowa with a steady programming job in Omaha. She had long managed bipolar disorder with medication and structure, showing up for work, keeping appointments, and staying deeply involved in her son's life. She didn't disappear. She didn't abandon routines. She didn't send impulsive messages to family about moving states without warning. Cari and Dave had met when she brought her SUV into the shop he managed. They matched later on a dating app and quickly settled into an uncomplicated rhythm. Around the same time, Dave was casually seeing another woman, Shanna Liz Golyar. Both women knew he wasn't exclusive. One evening, Cari and Liz passed each other in the hallway outside Dave's apartment. They exchanged a polite greeting and moved on. That moment, which seemed irrelevant at the time, eventually sat at the center of everything that followed. On November 13th, Dave left for work with Cari still in his place. Hours later came the sudden flood of messages. At first he tried to reason with her, assuming the conversation could be salvaged. Instead, the messages spiraled, sometimes arriving every few minutes, filled with anger and accusations. He didn't know that no one would ever see Cari alive again. Back in Iowa, Cari's mother, Nancy, got a strange text saying her daughter had accepted a job in Kansas and would be leaving her son with his grandmother. The words were blunt and out of character. When Nancy called back, no one answered. Her worry escalated when Cari missed a planned visit with her son, an unthinkable break in her routine. 3 days later, when Cari didn't appear at her father's funeral, Nancy reported her missing. She kept repeating that her daughter didn't vanish voluntarily. Investigators at first had nothing to contradict the messages pouring from Cari's accounts, but her family insisted those words didn't sound like her. Meanwhile, Dave's life became a constant stream of hostile texts and emails from addresses using Cari's name. The messages accused him of cheating, of ruining her life, of needing to pay for what he'd done. His garage received vandalism reports. His ex-girlfriend, Amy, began getting threats as well. Even Liz started showing him messages claiming Cari was threatening her, stalking her, and following her around Omaha. Liz filed police reports, pointing to Cari as the aggressor. 2 months after Cari vanished, her Ford Explorer turned up abandoned outside an Omaha apartment building. Police found no blood inside, no signs of struggle, and no evidence that narrowed the timeline. With no leads and thousands of messages apparently written by her, law enforcement treated it as a missing person case complicated by the possibility of mental health issues. But the people who knew her kept saying it wasn't right. The harassment escalated. New email addresses appeared weekly. Messages claimed Cari was watching Dave from parking lots, sitting outside Liz's home, or following Amy. In August 2013, Liz's house burned down while she and her children were gone. Her pets died in the fire. Without hesitation, she told investigators that Cari had done it. The case file thickened with every report, all pointing toward a woman no one had physically seen since November 2012. Years passed. The digital storm didn't slow. By 2015, after more than 2 years of texts and emails from accounts tied to Cari's name, the case landed on the desk of Pottawatomie County detectives Jim Doty and Ryan Avis. From the beginning, one fact hit them hard. Not one confirmed sighting of Cari existed after the morning she vanished. Not one coworker, family member, or friend had spoken to her. She existed only in digital messages that could be created by anyone. They pulled every earlier download and search warrant and brought in digital forensics specialist, Deputy Tony Cava. Instead of reading the messages for content, he traced where they came from. He mapped IP addresses, device fingerprints, login locations, and the times messages were sent. A pattern solidified quickly. Nearly all of the accounts claiming to be Cari, and several pretending to be Amy, were created and used on devices belonging to Liz Golyar. Some evidence had been overlooked years earlier. A photo taken of Cari's SUV, time-stamped before police officially found it abandoned, had been on Liz's phone. Blocked calls made to Cari's mother had originated from Liz's device. Emails accusing Amy of stalking Dave came from Liz's IP addresses. She wasn't the victim of harassment. She was generating every piece of it. Detectives kept their conclusion quiet. To gather more evidence, they told Liz they were finally taking her claims about Amy seriously and asked her to forward any new emails she received. She eagerly complied. Those new messages, supposedly written by Amy, described Cari being stabbed inside her SUV. Investigators treated this as information only the killer would know. They took a fresh look at the Explorer. This time, forensic specialists removed the passenger seat and peeled back the fabric. Under the cushioned foam, they found blood. DNA testing confirmed it was Cari's. The SUV had never been a simple abandoned vehicle. It had been a scene of violence hidden in plain sight. Search warrants for Liz's electronics uncovered thousands of deleted photos and messages. On an SD card recovered from a device linked to her, investigators found an image that stopped the entire team, a photograph of a woman's foot with a tattoo identical to one Cari had. Prosecutors argued it showed part of Cari's body after her death. Combined with the blood in the SUV and the digital evidence pointing exclusively to Liz, investigators finally had enough. On December 22, 2016, officers arrested Shauna Liz Golyar for the murder of Cari Farver. The charges included first-degree murder, arson, and several counts related to her years of deception. At trial in 2017, prosecutors presented the forensic timeline. Cari had been killed shortly after leaving Dave's apartment, and for 4 years afterward, Liz impersonated her, burned her own house down to appear targeted, vandalized her own property, and sent thousands of messages from dozens of fabricated accounts. The judge found her guilty of murder and sentenced her to life in prison without parole, plus additional time for arson. Appeals have upheld the conviction. Cari's family finally had the truth. She had not abandoned her son. She had not moved states. She had not stalked anyone. She had been killed, and someone else had used her voice to hide the crime. Dave, who spent years believing he was being hunted by an ex-girlfriend, had to face the reality that the person sitting beside him crying about harassment had written every message herself. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.